If you are doing this with me, here we go. If I see anything flying across the room at all, I will write DHs. Okay? Okay. Okay? Okay. All right. This first one. What's the degree on number one? Who is anybody else working with me? I'm not trying to ignore you if you, okay. What's the degree on number one? That's how many terms would be monomial if it's one term. What? The degree is your highest exponent. So what is your highest exponent right now? What? It's a 1, yeah. Okay, so you have a degree of 1 on this. How do you name something that has a degree of 1? If you were to graph this, what would it look like? Yeah, you follow, it's got a constant slope, right? It's a straight line. It's linear. So this is linear. How many terms is that? 2 terms. So that is called a what? Binomial. Okay. Look at number 2. What is your degree on that one? What's your highest exponent? 2. So you have a degree of 2. Do you remember what this one's called? This is the one that I think is the most tricky. Quadratic, right? Quad feels like 4, but a quadratic is actually when it's squared. So quadratic. How many terms is that? 1, 2, 3, right? So 3 terms. It's like each thing that's getting added or subtracted in the problem. Each different piece that is being added or subtracted. So this is 1 term, this is 1 term, this is 1 term. So 3 terms. What's that called? Trinomial. Okay. This one, what's the degree? 0. It's like saying 17x to the 0 power. This is 1, so it goes away, right? So your degree is 0. What do you call that? Hey, do math. That is constant. When there is no variable with it, it's called constant. How many terms is that? That is 1 term, and we call that what? A monomial. Okay. Last one. What's the degree of that monomial? That polynomial? 3 is your degree. Do you remember what that's called? That is cubic. Okay. And then how many terms? There's 2 terms. 3x cubed is 1 term. 7x squared. Brooklyn. The number of terms, like this is 1, 2 terms. This is 1, 2, 3 terms. This is 1 term. This is 2 terms. No, it's your biggest one. You don't add them together. You find for each term your biggest exponent.
That's 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Is this 4 or is this say 2?
You will have 1, 2, 3, or 4. It can go higher than that, but in naming them, we're not going to go beyond that. Yeah. Inequalities? Mm-mm. Do you want to? Oh, okay. Okay. Put it into standard form. First of all, what is standard form?
The alphabetical highest.
In alphabetical order and then decreasing order of your exponent. Ava, what did you need? Okay, so on this one, if you are putting this into standard form, first of all, you're combining like terms. So don't add your exponents together. Your exponents are what's showing you if they're like terms. So like on this one, 3x squared, what are you going to combine that with? The 7x squared. So 3x squared plus 7x squared is what? 10x squared. You're adding them together. So if there's a plus sign in between, you're adding. If it was like this, where it's, if there's no symbol in between, when they put them next to each other, that implies multiplication. What? I always say think of the variable as like apples. 3 apples plus 7 apples is 10 apples, not 10 apples squared, right? So whatever it is that you're adding, you're taking 3x squared and you're adding 7x squareds to that. You end up with a total of 10x squareds when you multiply. So if it was like x squared times x squared, but we're doing x squared plus x squared. Okay, so 3x squared plus 7x squared, that's 10x squared. Then you go to your x and your 8x, and again, we're adding them. What does that become? 9x. Okay, and then your last one, you have a 7 and a -3, and again, you're adding. So 7 plus -3 is a positive 4. Yeah, so 2 to 1 to nothing, right? That's descending order. It'd be like a half a point off. Yeah. Okay. Number 6. This one is tricky. This is probably the one that's going to get done wrong more than most. You're subtracting everything in parentheses. So what you could do is you could think of this as a -1. Are you with me right now? If you think of this as a -1 and distribute that -1, you could just rewrite the whole thing. You could go like this. So you could say that minus y squared minus 5y. This would be plus, because it's minus and minus, so plus 3. So you could just rewrite it like that, distributing the negative sign. You don't have to. If you want to just think of it in pieces, that's fine too. So this would be 8y squared minus y squared. Hey, you're getting loud back there again. What's 8y squared minus y squared? 7y squared. Okay, move on to the next one. Now you look at your y's. That's a negative. Make sure that negative stays with the 4. So -4y minus 5y is what? -9y. And then you have 5 plus 3, because it was 5 minus a -3, right? So that's 8. So it'll look like that. And again, that's in descending order already? Yeah. And say that again? If this was a 3, then that would have to be by itself. It would be a -y cubed out in front, and then a positive 8y squared, because you can't combine them. You would leave them, but put them in descending order. It's really obnoxious. What do you mean? Oh, negative exponents? No. Okay, number 7. What do you do with this one? Distribute. You're going to take that 2x and you're going to multiply by all of it. What is 2x times 7x squared? 14x to the 3rd power. So you're adding your exponents here to the 3rd. Then you take that 2x and you multiply by a -3x. What do you get? -6x.
Can I stay before a second? I had a question about back at the top.
Yeah, you should be hanging out with me then, because we already did that.
No, I gotta do everything.
Okay.
I just, because when I was in Stacy, Miss Gilly said for the air, so I just had to put 1 or 2 for like how many exponents like there were. But that's
Ask
more
me,
to it.
ask me when we finish this. Put a little star on your thing and
Alright.
ask me when we're done. Okay, so 2x times a negative 3x, that's a negative 6x. 2x times a negative 4. Sorry, this is squared. Sorry, I got distracted. Negative 6x squared, right? Because it's an x times an x. And then 2x times a negative 4. So minus 8x. Does that make sense?
So the second one.
Okay. What do you do on this one? What? This is FOIL. Yeah. So you're going to go first. So x times x, that's x squared. Okay. Outside is what? Negative 4x. So minus 4x, because you keep the sign in front of it. So that minus 4. Then you go inside is a positive 7x. And then you go last. That's a negative 28. Can you combine any like terms here? Yeah, negative 4 plus 7. So it's going to be x squared plus 3x minus 28. Okay? Okay, number 9. This one's pretty involved also. This is probably another one that gets done wrong a little more often, just because there's lots of pieces to it. So you have 2 parts. You have the W and you have the 3 that you're going to distribute individually. So we're going to start with the W. That's going to go W times 3W squared. What is that? W cubed, yep. Then W times 5W is 5W squared. And then W times a negative 6 is a negative 6W. Okay? It's not FOIL, but it's like FOIL. FOIL just makes sure that you multiply every piece by every other piece, right? That's what FOIL does for you. But this one has 3 parts in the second. So instead of just saying first, outside, inside, last, we can't do that. So you have to make sure you take in your binomial one of those terms times all 3, and then the other part of the binomial times all 3.
So it'd be like the first one on the middle, and then the outside, and then
So it'll be first with first, first with middle, first with outside, second with first, second with middle, second with outside. We did it on the note. The purple part? Yeah, so that W is getting multiplied by all 3 on that one. Yeah. You only FOIL when it's a binomial times a binomial, 2 and 2. That's the only time you can FOIL. If it's 3 and 3, then you multiply the first term by all 3, and then the second one by all 3, and then the third one by all 3. Yeah. The goal is always multiply everything by everything. Make sure everything gets multiplied. You can't FOIL this. You would miss pieces if you did first, outside, inside, last. You would miss, like, this whole middle chunk would be not there. Okay, so then the second part of this is 3 times 3W squared is a positive 9W squared. 3 times 5W is a positive 15W. And then 3 times a negative 6 is a negative 18. So then from here, you can combine like terms. So 3W squared is the only cubed. 3W cubed is the only cubed. Then you have 5W squared plus 9W squared, so 14 w squared. Then you have negative 6w plus 15w, so plus 9w. And then your last is minus 18.
Like at the beginning. With that.
So that would be your final answer. All right, number 10. What do you do with this one? Foil. This is a foil situation. First, outside, inside, last. So your first becomes what? 6x squared, right? X times x is x squared. So 6x squared. Outside is a negative 21x. Inside is a positive 10x. And then last is negative 35. Do you have any like terms? Yeah, the ones in the middle, okay? Keep the negative with it, so it's going to be 6x squared. Negative 21 plus 10 is a negative 11x. And then it's minus 35. Okay? Okay, what do you do? What do you do with this? Right. Make it two binomials, 2a plus 1 times 2a plus 1. Gentlemen. So you're going to FOIL that. So it's going to be 2a times 2a is 4a squared. 2a times 1 is plus 2a. 1 times 2a is plus 2a. And then 1 times 1 is 1. Simplify that. So you combine your a's. 4a squared plus 4a plus 1.
How come the second 4a isn't squared?
Because you're adding the a's together. So it's saying 2 a's plus 2 more a's is 4 a's, right? If you're multiplying them, then you would square it. But when you're just adding them together, it's how many a's do you have? All right, number 12. What do you do first on this one? Distribute. So you're going to go like this. What is this multiplied?
There's a lot of hair like not separated
What two things?
Like how we just did
before.
You don't FOIL it? There's no parenthesis. It has FOIL is a binomial times a binomial. You have to.
You know how it's 2a plus 1 and then it's again 2a plus 1. You got to put it on.
Oh, it's not squared here. If it was squared outside of that, then you would. But this one is not. So this is just distribute. So this is 20c cubed. This is going to be negative 8. What are your variables here? C squared, d squared. Because it's c times c, so c squared, and then the d squared. Then it's plus 3c squared, d squared, minus 7d cubed. Can you simplify anything here? Yep, as long as your exponents are identical and your variables, then you can combine them. So 20c cubed, what does this become? Stop pointing and laughing. That is so rude. So rude. Negative 8c squared d squared plus 3 squared d squared. What is that? Minus 5. That's a negative 5c squared d squared. And then the last part, minus 7d cubed. You have no other like terms. One's a c, one's a d, so don't combine those even though they're both cubed. So that's it.
Wait, how come you put the 3 in front?
Alphabetical order. So you start with your c's and then work your way down. So the d, I mean, if you put this here, I'm pretty forgiving about that, but I would prefer you get rid of all your c's first, and then if you have a d by itself, that would go at the end. because this one's negative, it's a negative 8c squared d squared. So it's a negative 8 plus 3 is a negative 5. So you always take the sign that's in front of the number with that number. Any questions on that?